further impact the job market in 2024. And what are the top film releases slated for the year ahead? All this and more on this special edition. Tune into WION's preview of 2024 at these times.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
As democracy strengthens across the world, elections and their unique cast of leaders, influencers, pollsters, and most of all voters dominate the political space. We bring you a special program that offers insights and reports on the colorful, contentious, and occasionally quirky panorama of elections. Something is always happening somewhere. This is a new special about leaders, their promises, voters, and their demands. A show that tells you all about the rules of the race, cutting through the rhetoric to bring you the reality, cutting through the populism to bring out the policy at play. The show that keeps you updated on the twists and turns, the hits and the misses. Watch Race to Power on WION. World is One.
Welcome back, viewers. It's 2024 and we wish you all a happy new year. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivak Janma.
And I'm Raisha Saigal, wishing you all a very happy new year. On the show today, the Indian Space Research Organization is set to kick off the year 2024 with the launch of ExpoSat. Well, it is India's first ExpoSat, which aims to probe the polarization of intense X-rays sourced and also study the world of black holes.
Also on the show today, viewers, Israeli jets intensified attacks on central Gaza as the war continues. This comes after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that the war would take more months to end. The IDF has also withdrawn 5 combat brigades who were taking part in the ground invasion of Gaza. All right, this and a lot more, and we're going to get started with the headlines for now.
Several rockets fired from the Gaza Strip target Tel Aviv and southern Israel as it rings in the new year. Air raid sirens sounded as Israeli missile defense systems intercept the rockets.
US helicopters repel an attack by Iran-backed Houthi militants on a Maersk container vessel in the Red Sea, sink 3 ships and kill 10 militants.
India is set to launch its first dedicated polarimetry mission to study black holes. The satellite will be launched on a Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle rocket from Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota in Andhra Pradesh in just a short while from now.
Denmark's Queen Margaret II announces surprise abdication in a New Year TV address, leaving the throne to her son, Crown Prince Frederik.
David Warner calls time on one-day international cricket ahead of his farewell test against Pakistan in Sydney, but keeps the door open to play the 2025 Champions Trophy if needed.
People around the world are ringing in the new year with spectacular firework displays lighting up the skies across major cities across the world.
And as the clock struck 12 at midnight for the new year, rockets fired from Gaza raced towards central Israel overnight.
Well, this triggered sirens throughout the central and southern parts of Israel. Hamas armed wing said that the barrage was in response to massacres against civilians in Gaza. Now, this comes a day after Israeli jets intensified attacks on central Gaza. Amid the raging battle, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that the war would take many more months to end.
Well, according to Hamas's health ministry, at least 48 Palestinians were killed in overnight bombing in Gaza City. Another strike killed 20 people sheltering at Al-Aqsa University in the west of Gaza City.
On the other hand, the Israeli military said that it will release some reservists who were called up to fight Hamas in Gaza as the country prepares for a prolonged war.
These days, we are also adjusting the plan of forces deployment in Gaza and in the area of reservists. Some of the reservist soldiers will return to their families and their jobs this week. This will allow a significant relief for the economy and will allow them to gather strength ahead of the coming activities this next year. And the fighting will continue. We will need them.
In yet another incident, Israeli police and emergency services said that a Palestinian stabbed and wounded 2 people near an Israeli settlement in the West Bank on Sunday. That is, before being neutralized.
The IDF also released footage of troops and dogs from the Orket's canine unit operating in the Gaza Strip. The dogs carry out initial scans before soldiers enter an area or a building. Far-right Israeli finance minister called for the return of Jewish settlers to the Gaza Strip after the war and said that its Palestinian population should be encouraged to emigrate. Hamas condemned Smotrich's comments as a vile mockery and a war crime.
Meanwhile, the Israeli military said that fighter jets struck what it said was Hezbollah infrastructure and military structures in southern Lebanon. The Israeli military spokesperson, Daniel Hagari, said that Hezbollah does not care about the residents of southern Lebanon and they had turned villages in southern Lebanon into a fighting zone.
As 2023 drew to a close, Palestinians in Gaza prayed for a ceasefire but had little hope the new year would be any better. According to Hamas health ministry, Israel's offensive has killed more than 21,800 people, and with many more feared dead in the rubble. Those numbers are yet to come out, and pushed nearly all of its 2.3 million people across Gaza Strip away from their homes. Now, the spillover effect of Israel-Hamas war is widening in the Red Sea. Tensions are escalating in the region yet again.
Absolutely, Shivan, especially with rising attacks from the Yemen-based Houthis. In the latest skirmish between U.S. forces and Houthis, the U.S. helicopters repel an attack by Iran-backed Houthi militants on a Maersk container vessel in the Red Sea, sink 3 ships, and that also killed 10 militants.
US forces struck Houthi vessels in the southern Red Sea on Sunday. Now, the US is striking back after they attacked and tried to board a container ship operated by the Maersk shipping company. The vessel is a Singapore-flagged and Denmark-owned container ship named Maersk Hangzhou. Small boats originating from Houthi-controlled areas in Yemen fired arms or weapons at the Maersk Hangzhou. Responding to the ship's request for assistance, the US shot down 2 anti-ship ballistic missiles from Houthi-controlled areas in Yemen.
The US Navy helicopters sank 3 of the 4 small Houthi boats. The latest incident marks the 23rd attack by the Houthis on international shipping since November 19th.
Now, in the wake of the rising attacks, India is enhancing its maritime and aerial surveillance in the Arabian Sea region. Task groups, which comprise of destroyers and frigates, have been deployed in the region by India. This includes INS Kolkata, INS Kochi, INS Mormugao, INS Chennai and INS Vishakhapatnam. In addition to these, aerial surveillance by long-range maritime patrol aircraft PHI and remotely piloted aircraft would also take place in the region.
Now, over the last week, maritime vessels transitioning through international shipping lanes in the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden and Central Arabian Sea have come under a string of attacks by the Houthis. The twin threat is posed by Yemen's Houthis, like I mentioned before, and Somalian pirates.
The Houthis, an Iran-backed rebel group, they say that the attacks are a direct response to Israel's ongoing offensive in Gaza. Houthis have a direct control, or rather a strategic positioning right near the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, and that is essentially where they are attacking ships which are plying through that route. The United States has also launched a maritime coalition of over 20 countries in the region. Operation Prosperity Guardian is what it has been named, and it is underway to tackle the Houthi threat.
Now, these countries that are a part of it will patrol the region to safeguard commercial shipping against these attacks. Now, remember, the Red Sea is a key entry point for ships using the Suez Canal. 12% of the worldwide trade moves through the Red Sea, which is an important route. It also serves as an important link between Asia and Europe, and due to the rising dangers in the West Asian waters, many companies have either suspended their operations or diverted their route through the Cape of Good Hope. And we're still on with our continuous coverage of the Israel-Hamas war. Well, the ongoing combat between the Israeli forces and Hamas militants is pushing Gazans further south near the Rafah border.
Now, we already saw Israel go through the northern part of Gaza, then they entered the southern part of Gaza, central Gaza, and now essentially Rafah is the only border crossing which is left. Now, this is, of course, 2.3 million people, that's the total population of Gaza. Over 1.9 million of those have been displaced internally, says a UN report. For many, life has been reduced to a makeshift existence.
Well, this means an overwhelming number of people, and they are now crammed into smaller spaces in the south of the Gaza Strip. The latest exodus has been triggered by fighting centered in central and southern Gaza, especially in Khan Yunis.
Israel describes this as an essential stage of its mission to eliminate Hamas. At least 35 were killed in central Gaza on Sunday itself. The death toll overall is nearing 22,000 people. Many people are now fleeing for the third or fourth time. Earlier, Israel had ordered evacuation in northern Gaza as well.
War is very difficult. I see people upset and it's hard for them. I struggle a lot in the war. There's hardly any food and it's challenging to find supplies. I'm already suffering from a thyroid condition, and with the smoke, it's difficult for me to breathe.
Yeah, you said that. Well, rows of tents have been set up near the border with Egypt. Many Gazans are now spending the extreme winter under plastic sheets on the open ground, while the death toll has climbed to 21,800 since the war started. And all this as the risk of hunger and disease continues to loom over Gaza.
I wish the war would stop, and I wish the world would intervene to end the war so I can return home. It's been a month or two.
Relentless bombing has reduced vast areas in Gaza to wasteland. Displaced Gazans are facing shortage of essentials. Many gathered for meals prepared by a food kitchen in Rafah as aid trucks entered the strip from Egypt on Sunday. But the UN says aid amounting to only 10% of the food requirement of Gazans has entered the region in the last 70 days.
Well, the situation is extremely grim, Shivin. The United Nations as well as the international aid groups have warned of a famine-like situation in Gaza. The Hamas-run government warns of starvation and dehydration of more than 1.9 million people. And they all lack proper accommodation, food, water, medicine and safety.
Ever since the week-long truce collapsed in November between Israel and Hamas, there has been no respite for the civilians in Gaza. Efforts by Qatar and Egypt have not produced any substantial results so far. The resurgence of another ceasefire has not happened yet. Egypt hosted leaders of Hamas and Islamic Jihad last week, but says it is still awaiting responses from both sides to a peace plan. Now, as the conflict between Moscow and Kiev escalates, of course, this is the Russia-Ukraine war that we're now speaking about. 5 people have been killed in attacks on Ukraine's southern Odessa region and the eastern city of Donetsk.
And this comes after Kiev said that it destroyed 21 of 49 Iranian-made drones fired from the Russian side. Well, 6 guided missiles had also targeted the northeastern city of Kharkiv. Russia said that it attacked military facilities in the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv overnight, including a hotel housing military commanders and foreign mercenaries. Russia has vowed to retaliate for what it called a terrorist attack on a border city that left 24 people dead.
The head of Kharkiv's military administration said that 28 civilians were wounded in the attack on the city, including 2 teenagers and a foreign national as well. A fresh Russian strike came a day after the deadliest attack on civilians in Russia since the start of the conflict. The official death toll rose to 24, with 108 wounded in Belgorod. The two sides took turns to accuse each other of pummeling civilian areas of their shared frontier region over the weekend.
On the other hand, Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Ukrainian counterpart, they both gave their traditional New Year's Eve address. While Putin praised Russia's soldiers on the front line. Take a listen as to what the Russian president said on New Year's Eve.
I would like to address our military personnel, everyone who is at a combat post at the forefront of the fight for truth and justice. You are our heroes. Our hearts are with you. We are proud of you and we admire your courage. I know that now you feel the love of your closest and dearest relatives, the powerful, sincere support of millions of Russian citizens, the support of the entire nation.
Граждан России. Поддержку всего народа.
Now, on the other side, this man on your screens, Volodymyr Zelensky, vowed in his New Year's Eve address to wreak wrath against Russian forces in 2024. Listen in to what he had to say.
And our pilots are already mastering F-16 jets. And we will definitely see them in our skies, so that our enemies can certainly see what our real wrath is.
The United Nations says that more than 10,000 civilians have been killed in Ukraine and nearly 60 people inside Russia. However, both the sides have denied targeting civilians in a war that Russia launched against Ukraine in 2022.
Аналог американского Т-4.
And shifting our focus to India, after a highly successful 2023, the Indian Space Agency, or ISRO, is geared up for its maiden launch of this new year.
India's PSLV C-58 mission is all set to launch the X-ray polarimeter satellite, or XPOSat, today. The mission is the first dedicated polarimetry mission of the nation. The XPOSat mission will try to unravel the mysteries of black holes.
Well, ExpoSat will launch into an eastward low inclination orbit at 9:10 a.m. local time today. The satellite will be launched from the Satish Dhawan Space Center located in Sriharikota in the state of Andhra Pradesh. The mission will be studying the 50 brightest known sources in the universe.
The new satellite seeks to understand the intricacies of bright celestial X-ray sources. This by examining their complicated dynamics under harsh circumstances. Now, the ExpoSat spacecraft is carrying cutting-edge technology which is designed particularly for low Earth orbit exploration. The satellite's configuration is adapted from the IMS-2 bus platform, but with the mainframe systems drawing from the heritage of IRS satellites. According to ISRO, the mission life stands to have about 5 years. ExpoSat carries two primary payloads here. Pollux, which is a polarimeter instrument that helps in taking X-rays. And the second payload is XSPECT, which studies the X-rays and timing in space.
Now, in layman terms, a payload refers to the valuable cargo a spacecraft carries, like satellites, scientific instruments or equipment. It's something that we send to space for specific purposes, whether it's communication, exploration or research. Let's now delve deeper into the specifications of these payloads, starting with Pollux. The payload will help measuring polarization of X-rays in the energy band, originating from approximately 50 potential cosmic sources. Now, to achieve these polarization measurements, the payload will employ the Thomson scattering technology. Now, Thomson scattering is like sunlight bouncing off a mirror. It helps one to understand how X-rays behave by looking at how they scatter or bounce off other particles in space.
Now, moving on to the second payload, we're talking about XSPECT. It will conduct a long-term spectral and temporal study of cosmic X-ray sources in the set energy band. The payload will focus on analyzing X-ray emissions from different cosmic sources. For more details on this, our correspondent Siddharth MP brings us this report. A listen in.
On New Year's Day, ISRO is all set for its maiden launch mission of the new year 2024. This mission is known as PSLV C58 ExpoSat. Essentially, this is meant to study X-rays that are originating from space. Basically, X-rays are very powerful sources, extremely powerful sources of light. So there are many natural phenomena in space from where X-rays are emitted. So what happens is when these X-rays are emitted, they also carry information along with these X-rays on what causes them, where it's caused from, and the kind of intensity of these events. Typically, X-rays are caused by black holes and neutron stars. But, these are also phenomena that are not easy to study, because of the fact that when X-rays are emitted, the Earth's atmosphere does not permit these X-rays to enter the Earth. So the best option to study X-rays is to launch a satellite to space, put it around the Earth in orbit, and then from there, when the X-rays travel through space, you study them from there. That's the idea of X-ray polarimetry satellite, or ExpoSat, which ISRO is launching. The launch is at 9:10 a.m. The countdown is underway. It's a 25-hour long countdown which started on Sunday at 8:10 a.m. 9:10 is the launch. What we have to remember is that this countdown is a crucial technical process. It's at this time that the liquid fuels of the rocket are filled, and various systems and subsystems of the rocket are also tested by computers to ensure that everything is fine and to ensure that it's all safe to go ahead with the launch. From Sriharikota, Satish Dhawan Space Center, Siddharth MP, WION World is One.
Well, the end of year 2023 also marked the end of an era for Denmark's Queen Margaret II.
Well, the longest-serving monarch of Europe announced her surprise abdication on live television on New Year's Eve. The announcement was made in a live broadcast of her annual New Year's Eve public address. Listen to this.
I have decided that now is the right time. On 14 January 2024, 52 years after I succeeded my beloved father, I will step down as Queen of Denmark. I leave the throne to my son, Crown Prince Frederik.
The 83-year-old ascended the throne in 1972 when she took over from her father after constitutional amendment allowed women to inherit the throne. In July of 2022, she became the longest-sitting monarch in the history of Denmark after and reigned for 52 long years.
Margareta is also known for her love of archaeology and has taken part in several excavations. She enjoyed broad support from Danes throughout her life, who are fond of her tactful and yet creative personality. The statement said that her abdication comes on ground of understanding the medical implications following her back surgery.
Well, the Dane Queen decided to step down well in time before being labelled as another monarch with Queen Victoria syndrome. Well, she will be succeeded by her eldest son, Crown Prince Frederick. The monarchy's role in the country of almost 6 million remains merely that of representing the nation with traditional duties ranging from state visits to National Day celebrations, well as the formal power resides with the elected parliament.
All right, of course, 31st December for a lot of nations in the world. I think they're still very much on that date till now. Let's now take a look at the visuals of New Year's celebrations flooding in from around the world. Take a look.
And now it's time for a quick short break.
Don't go anywhere. Of course, this is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. We will be back after this short break. When we come back, we talk about how the onset of 2024 brings with it global elections. It is going to be the global election year. Almost half the world's population will be voting across continents as election season officially kicks off.
Also on the other side, we will tell you about the childhood memory coming back in a peculiar way. Remember the Mickey Mouse from Steamboat Willie? Well, it is all set to enter the public domain from today. But how does this look for Disney? This and much more on the other side of World DNA. Stay tuned. You're watching WION World this one.
India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
democracy strengthens across the world, elections and their unique cast of leaders, influencers, pollsters, and most of all voters dominate the political space. We bring you a special program that offers insights and reports on the colorful, contentious, and occasionally quirky panorama of elections. Something is always happening somewhere. This is a new special about leaders, their promises, voters, and their demands. A show that tells you all about the rules of the race, cutting through the rhetoric to bring you the reality, cutting through the populism to bring out the policy at play. The show that keeps you updated on the twists and turns, the hits and the misses. Watch Race to Power.
We will get you voices of the victims that have remained unheard in the wars so far.
And we'll take you behind the scenes into the underbelly of the business of war. This is WION Rewind 2023.
The two wars, the stories of blood, grief and fury.
Welcome back. Thanks very much for staying with us. You're watching World DNA with me, Raisha Sehgal and Shivan. On the show today, we were just talking about the ongoing Israel-Hamas war, where the Israeli jets have intensified their attack basically in the central Gaza Strip and towards the southern side of the Gaza Strip as well, especially Khan Yunis. And the Israeli Prime Minister has clearly said that the war will go on for several months, and all this while the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is only getting worse.
And there's no talk of an immediate ceasefire anytime soon. Of course, we are tracking the developments there very closely. Also, the big story for today is the 1st of January. Big news coming in from India's Space Research Organization. Today will be the launch. PSLV C-58 mission is all set to launch the X-ray polarimeter satellite, or XPO-SAT. Today it's going to happen at 9:10 a.m. Indian Standard Time. We are going to be bringing you all the updates right from Sriharikota. For now, let's get started with all else that's happening from around the globe. A very happy new year to all our viewers. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. Let's get started with that.
India is set to launch its first dedicated polarimetry mission to study black holes. The satellite will be launched on a polar satellite launch vehicle rocket from Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota in Andhra Pradesh.
India's anti-terror agency NIA achieves a phenomenal conviction rate of 95%, arrests 625 accused and attaches assets worth nearly $7 million in 2023.
Several rockets fired from the Gaza Strip target Tel Aviv in southern Israel as it rings in the new year. Air raid sirens sounded as Israeli missile defense systems intercept the rockets.
US helicopters repel an attack by Iran-backed Houthi militants on a Maersk container vessel in the Red Sea. They sink 3 ships and they killed 10 militants. Denmark's Queen Margaret II announces surprise abdication in a New Year TV address, leaving the throne to her son, Crown Prince Frederick. People around the world are ringing in the new year with spectacular firework displays lighting up the skies across major cities. The onset of 2024 brings with it the global election year. Now, almost half the world's population will be voting across continents as election season officially kicks off. Reisha gets you all the details.
Thanks, Shivan. Well, it does look like that the year 2024 is going to be a year of elections. Well, let's tell you more about the number of countries that will hold elections this year. At least 40 countries across the world, across the globe, will be holding elections this year. And these elections around the world, they represent a combined population of 49% of the world, which will indeed have an impact on world politics and economy. Well, let's now tell you about the key elections to look out for this year. Well, in just 6 days from now, Bangladesh will hold the 12th parliamentary elections on January 7th in 300 seats. Moving on January 13th, the 8th direct presidential elections will be held in Taiwan, and the new president will be elected in a three-way fight which will take place in Taiwan on January 13th. Well, elections are also scheduled to be held in Pakistan, which will take place on February 8th to elect the members of the 16th National Assembly. Legislative elections are also scheduled to take place in Iran on March 1st. That is when the elections will take place in Iran. Well, this comes 4 years after the previous elections in 2020. Now, despite Ukraine's invasion, Russia will also be holding elections, presidential elections, and that will take place from March 15th to 17th. And Russian President Vladimir Putin is widely expected to run for the polls. And experts say that he will indeed come back in power. And coming back to India, the country will hold Lok Sabha elections this year. Is expected to take place in the month of May. That is the elections in India, scheduled to take place the month of May this year. And lastly, the year 2024 will end with presidential elections in the United States of America, which will take place on November 5th. Well, it does look like the 2024 is going to be a jam-packed year when it comes to key polls. Back to you, Shivan.
Thanks, Reisha. Of course, we are going to be tracking all those elections very closely right here on WION The World is One. Now, it has been quite a happening year for India's top investigative body, the National Investigation Agency. In an advisory on the 31st of December 2023, the National Investigative Agency released data showing its success in surpassing its performance in 2022. Let's take a look at how the agency broke new grounds in 2023. Now, according to the anti-terrorist agency's year-end press release, some of the most notable successful operations in 2023 were held against Islamic State operatives, Kashmiri separatists and jihad terror networks. The agency also undertook intensive actions against the terror organized crime nexus that has come on NIA's radar as a major concern. The organization scaled up its operations dramatically in 2023. Arrests are up by almost 30% in comparison to the year prior to that. Total number of arrests made stand at 625 as compared to 490 in the year prior, which was 2022. Now, searches and raids conducted by the agency have also gone up by almost 9%, which has been, of course, a significant increase.
Charge sheets filed by the investigative agency also went up from 459 in 2022 to 513 in 2023. Of those 513 charge sheets filed, 79 were convicted, a slight increase from 2022. The 74 accused convicted were imprisoned to various quantums of rigorous imprisonment and fines as punishment. Well, the NIA registered 68 cases related to terror in 2023. Of these 68, 18 were related to jihadi extremism, 12 to left-wing extremism, and 2 in currency, and 21 others in various grave offences. 5 terror-related cases originated from India's northeast, 3 from the Union territories of Jammu and Kashmir, and 7 cases of organised crime and terror funding from Punjab. the crackdowns on violent jihad across India that proved to be a huge accomplishment for agency, which saw several modules of the banned global ISIS being busted through nationwide raids and searches.
Running parallel to its crackdown on terror networks, the financial crime wing of the NIA amplified its focus on attachment and seizure of properties and other assets accrued. Properties seized by the agency went up dramatically from 37 to 240. That's over a six-fold increase. The worth of these assets also increased from slightly over $1 million to close to just under $7 million in 2023.
Now, let's take a look at WION's monthly global economic health check. First, let's take a look at how global markets performed in December.
Oil fell 7% with Brent crude hovering around $77 per barrel, even as Red Sea tensions escalate. Gold closed out the month slightly lower, but well over the $2,000 mark. The dollar, on the other hand, continued to remain weak on Fed rate cut bets.
Moving on to Asia-Pacific stock markets, Australian and Indian stocks performed strongly in December, rising over 6%. Japan's Nikkei saw only a marginal gain. However, the economic crisis weighed heavily on Chinese stocks as the Shanghai index fell nearly 2%.
The rally continued in American stocks, with S&P 500 and Nasdaq hovering near record highs. The picture was rosy for the European and African markets. All the indices rose as well.
Well, coming to the economic outlook in the Asia-Pacific region as well. Economists gave a thumbs up to India and Japan, while the prospects for China and Australia remain negative.
Then for the Americas, the outlook remains gloomy, with the US expected to avoid a recession but have a soft landing. The negative outlook seems to be widespread, though, with the UK in a recession already and other European and African economies predicted to underperform as well.
Well, Shivan, it looks like there is no end in sight to China's economic troubles.
For the third consecutive month, viewers, China's manufacturing activity contracted. This indicates the ongoing pressure from weak domestic and international demand on the economy. Now, the official manufacturing purchasing managers index fell from November's 49.4 to 49 in December 2023. Any reading above the 50 mark indicates an expansion, while a figure below that is a sign of contraction. A Bloomberg survey of economists had predicted a reading of 49.6. China's economic recovery began to falter in the second half of 2023, raising concerns about the country's growth prospects for 2024.
Well, Beijing has hinted that it would probably set a lofty goal for 2024, but the target seems difficult to achieve as China's economic trajectory looks to leap off a cliff again, especially given that the authorities have pledged to steer clear of any suggestion of any kind of stimulus in favor of a pro-growth fiscal monetary policy in 2024. That too is not expected to boost growth initiatives in the country.
A further indication of weak demand and low confidence is the further deflation of consumer prices and the decline in imports. It is anticipated that the biggest real estate crisis to hit contemporary China will continue. Even the measures announced by Beijing seem to be of little assistance here. This further reduces demand for products like furniture and household appliances. Now, from path-breaking space missions to autonomous vehicles, to AI, it won't be wrong to say that 2023 was the year of technology.
Absolutely, Shivan. However, the tech industry experienced downfalls too. 2023 witnessed a major rise in layoffs, which we've been talking about here on WION, especially the tech industry.
Now, according to layoffs FYI, a website that tracks job cuts in the tech sector. In India, more than 16,000 people lost their jobs in 2023. As per the report, on average, 45 people lost their jobs daily. A majority of these layoffs were in Bengaluru, the tech capital of India, followed by Gurugram, Mumbai and Noida. Now, the report further suggests that the most number of layoffs took place in the tech sector. Around 4,700 people were laid off in the edtech sector. Meanwhile, globally, around 260,000 people lost their jobs in 2023.
The highest number of people laid off were in the United States of America, and that was followed by India, Germany, Sweden and the United Kingdom. The gaming industry too was not immune to this. The video game industry saw several rounds of layoffs affecting at least 9,000 employees globally. Well, the Hasbro gaming company witnessed the biggest layoff in the gaming industry. Well, the company laid off 1,000 employees, including most of the team that worked on 2023's Game of the Year award. That's the winner, Baldur's Gate 3. Meanwhile, Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's one-time personal lawyer and fixer, has admitted to having unwittingly passed along bogus AI-generated legal case citations that he got online to his attorney before being submitted to a judge.
Now, in December, a judge had asked the lawyer to explain how court rulings that do not exist were cited in a motion submitted on Cohen's behalf. Understand that Cohen had pleaded guilty in 2018 to tax evasion, campaign finance charges and lying to Congress. At the time, Cohen had said that Trump had directed him to arrange the payment of hush money to a porn actor and to a former Playboy model to fend off damage to his 2016 presidential bid. Note that in 2018, Michael Cohen was disbarred from practicing law. During the trial, Cohen said that he found the citations while doing research through Google Bard and was unaware that the Google service could generate non-existent cases.
Well, he also said that he uses the internet for research because he no longer has access to formal legal research sources. Cohen said, and I'm quoting him here, "As a non-lawyer, I have not kept up with emerging trends in legal technology and did not realize that Google Bard was a generative text service that, like ChatGPT, and that could show citations and descriptions that looked real, but actually they were not."
Instead, Cohen blamed Schwartz, his lawyer and longtime friend, for failing to check the validity of his citations before submitting them to the judge. Now, this is not the first time a lawyer has been accused of using AI-generated citations in the court. In 2023, two lawyers were fined $5,000 each for citing bogus cases that were invented by ChatGPT, the AI-powered chatbot. All right, it's over to sports. And next, let's get started with that. 22-time Grand Slam champion Rafael Nadal didn't have the comeback that he wanted.
Absolutely, Shivan. The 37-year-old began return to competitive action with a defeat at the Brisbane International Doubles.
The Spaniard has been out since suffering a hip injury during a second-round contest at the Australian Open last year. Nadal returned to competitive action at the ATP tournament on Sunday alongside Marc Lopez, with whom he won Olympic gold at Rio 2016. Now, the duo fell to a 4-6, 4-6 defeat to the Australian pair of Max Purcell and Jordan Thompson. The 37-year-old will now shift his attention to singles action and Tuesday's clash against 2020 US Open champion Dominic Thiem. The Brisbane International serves as one of the tune-up events in the run-up to the Australian Open. Talking to reporters, Nadal refused to rule out the chance that he will continue playing beyond the 2024 season.
The problem about saying that's going to be my last season, it's I can't predict what's going on 100% on the future. You know, that's the thing. That's why I say probably, and it's obvious that it's a high percentage that's going to be my last time playing here in Australia. But if I am here next year, don't tell me you said gonna be your last season, because I didn't say it. I just said have been an important percentage.
And let's now see what's making news the world of entertainment, for which we have with us Alison Lagrange. Alison, over to you.
Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you from Durban, South Africa. First up, a very happy new year to all of you. Now let's get you the big stories from the world of entertainment.
Shecky Greene, the legendary stand-up comedian, died at his home in the city. He was 97. Greene was known for his long tenure as Las Vegas headliner and for working with Frank Sinatra and Elvis Presley. Shecky Greene's wife, Mary Musso Greene, confirmed the news of his death. During his career in the entertainment industry, Greene made appearances on popular TV shows including Love, American Style, The Love Boat, and Fantasy Island, to name a few. Blackpink, the four-piece K-pop act, are no longer working with YG Entertainment for their solo endeavors. Comprised of Jisoo, Lisa, Jennie, and Rosé, the group will remain signed to YG Entertainment as an entity, but the four women will pursue their solo careers outside of the agency. Individually, all the members of Blackpink has expanded their presence in the global entertainment industry with solo musical projects.
Remember the original Mickey Mouse from Steamboat Willie? Well, it's all set to enter the public domain from today. But how does this look for Disney? Our next report gives you more details.
Disney is all set to bid farewell to its oldest friend. Mickey Mouse has entered the public domain for the first time since its inception in the 1928 animated short film Steamboat Willie. This version of Mickey is the earliest iteration of the beloved mouse. But this isn't the only blow that the House of the Mouse is facing. Disney is also losing the exclusive copyright to Minnie Mouse, Mickey's shipmate from Steamboat Willie. This means that artists and filmmakers all over the world can use them as they like, as US law allows a copyright to be held only for 95 years. However, the Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse looks a lot different from the one you will find strolling through Disneyland. Mickey's original persona shows a rat-like figure with spindly legs, a narrow, thin tail, and longer nose. Modern versions of Mickey and Minnie will remain protected, but the iconic status of the mascot makes sure that courts will have a tough time determining what comes and doesn't come within Disney's ownership. Expiration of the ownership does not mean that the public can use the cartoon in any manner they like. The law forbids the public from deceptively using the character. This means that a person cannot fool people into thinking that their product is from the original creator of Mickey Mouse, also known as Disney. But Mickey Mouse isn't the only artwork that is in the public domain. Tigger's first iteration from Winnie the Pooh, along with works such as Lady Chatterley's Lover and All Quiet on the Western Front, are also going to be free for use from this year's onwards. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
That's all from me for today. For now, it's back to our New Delhi studio.
Well, Shipin 2023 was marked by extraordinary achievements for India.
Of course, we bring to you an exclusive now, and it's an exclusive glimpse into some of Indian Prime Minister's pivotal moments in 2023. We are going to leave you with these images, with these visuals. This is, of course, World DNA with Raisha and I. This is the show that gets you ahead of the rest. Come right back after, and we will continue with all global updates.
After a tumultuous year, what's in the cards for 2024? With peak election seasons kicking off across the globe, to the possibility of wars coming to an end. How will AI further impact the job market in 2024? And what are the top film releases slated for the year ahead? All this and more on this special edition. Tune into WION's preview of 2024 at these times.
As democracy strengthens across the world, elections and their unique cast of leaders, influencers, pollsters, and most of all voters dominate the political space. We bring you a special program that offers insights and reports on the colorful, contentious, and occasionally quirky panorama of elections. Something is always happening somewhere. This is a new special about leaders, their promises, voters, and their demands. A show that tells you all about the rules of the race, cutting through the rhetoric to bring you the reality, cutting through the populism to bring out the policy at play. The show that keeps you updated on the twists and turns, the hits and the misses. Watch Race to Power on WION World is One.
Shelling is still continuing, we can hear it. The city is a ghost town.
In mere seconds, memories, 10 families' homes brought down.
King of kings and Lord of lords, bless, we beseech thee, this crown.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's maiden state visit to the United States.
Israel is at war.
There's a rocket coming from Gaza to where I am.
1-0. We have achieved soft landing on the moon.
It's a sea of blue.
Australia's big match mentality has carried them through yet again.
It's going to be called the Eras Tour.
The era of global boiling has arrived.
पूरी दुनिया में इन चुनाव परिणामों की गूंज सुनाई देगी.
A year of big transition, an eventful year for us.
The year of introducing new policy shifts.
Welcome back. Thanks very much for staying with us. You're watching WION World is One with me, Raisha Sehgal. Wishing all our viewers a very happy new year. Let's start by taking a look at the headlines we're tracking for you right now. India is set to launch its first dedicated polarimetry mission